Alright guys, in the last video I gave you an assignment with some HTML of a form and a bunch of classes and IDs with some hints inside your CSS and your styling. So in this video I'm going to go through and I'm going to add my styling. And don't worry if yours doesn't match my exact CSS, that's fine. So let's start off with the asterisk here. So as the hint says, we might want to add border box for the box sizing property so the padding doesn't affect the width. We also want to reset the margin and padding. That's pretty self-explanatory. So let's go ahead and set box sizing to border box. And let's clear out the margin and padding on everything. Okay, so I'll save that. Now all the margin and padding's removed. So we used Railway for the font. As you can see, it's already brought in here. So let's go ahead and actually I'll put that back. Let's set the font family, and we want to set that to Railway and sans serif. Okay, we'll save that. Now we have our font. And the hint there is the background color, which is that hexadecimal value. So let's do background. You could do background or background color, and we're going to set it to 344A72. And we'll save that. There we go. So we should also, well, actually no, we don't. Yeah, we'll set the color to white here. We are going to have that white form wrap, but we can just change the font color in there. And then the last thing I want to do here is set the line height to, let's do 1.8. Okay, so let's see, underlines are ugly. So let's remove that. Remember, text decoration. I want to set that to none. That will get rid of all the underlines. Let's go to our container. So remember, we want to center the form. So we want to use margin auto. And we also want to set a max width. And we may want to add some padding. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to set the margin to auto. But on the top and bottom, I'm going to set 30 pixels just to move the container down a little bit. Okay, and we'll set a max width. And it's a pretty thin or narrow form, so we're going to set this to 400 pixels. Okay, and then let's set the margin. Oops, I'm sorry, not the margin. We already did that. We want to set the padding to 20 pixels. And save that. Okay, so next we have the form wrap. This is the white area around the form and the heading and all this. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's say background. Let's set that to white. And then for padding, I'm going to set that to 15 pixels on the top and bottom and 25 on the left and right. So since our text is white, our body text, we want to change the color of this form wrap text. So let's change that to 333. Okay, so that's our form wrap. Now let's move on to the H1 and paragraph. We want to center these, so we want to use the text align, and we want to set that to center. We don't want to center everything. That's why I didn't add it to the form wrap. We don't want these, the inputs and stuff centered. We just want the heading and the paragraph centered. All right, so each label input is wrapped in form group. So what I'm going to do is just add a margin top to each form group. So margin top, let's do 15 pixels. Okay, just to push each one down. So for the label, we want that to be displayed as a block level element. So let's use the display property, set that to block, and I'm going to change the color to, let's do 666, and save. Okay, so for the inputs, they should go all the way across. By default, they don't. And then we also want them to have some padding because they're much too skinny right now. So let's do that. Let's say we want the width to be 100%. Okay, we want it to go all the way across, and let's add 10 pixels padding to each input. Let's also set the border to, let's do DDD, 1 pixel solid, and let's give it a kind of a rounded border, so we'll say border radius, and let's do just 5 pixels for each one. Okay, so that makes the inputs look much cleaner. Alright, next we have the button. So button should wrap across 100% and display as block. Background color is this, so let's first of all just grab that and set the background to that. Okay, we'll get rid of that. And let's set the display to block. Okay, so I'll save that. And then we want it to go all the way across, so let's do a width of 100%. Okay, so now you can see it goes all the way across. We need some padding here, so let's do padding 10 pixels all the way around. We want to bring it down from the top input. You can see it's kind of stuck to it right now, so let's do a margin top. Remember, margin is the outside, so we'll do 20 pixels, push it down. Let's also make the color of the text white, so we'll say color white. And what else? Let's do let's see, I think that's good. Let's change the pointer to a cursor. Notice that if we go over a button, it doesn't change to a cursor. We want that to happen, so we'll say cursor pointer. And now when we hover over it, we get the cursor, or I'm sorry, the pointer. Alright, so let's see, what do we have next? The hover. So I wanted to have a kind of a different color, or just get a bit lighter on the hover. And you can see I actually gave you the hexadecimal value here, so we're just going to go ahead and add the background and make it that color. So now if I hover over it, it actually gets darker. Alright, so the bottom text, which is this right here, we want to make that smaller. So the default, remember, is 16 pixels, so let's set the font size here to 13 pixels. And I'm also going to move it down a bit by doing a margin top of 20 pixels. Next thing is the footer. So this right here, we want this to be centered. We also want to push it down a little bit, so let's say text align center. Oops. And let's do let's see, the color is fine for the text. Let's do margin dash top, and let's move it down 10 pixels. Okay, so now it's centered, it's moved down. Last thing is the link. So I gave you the color for the link, so we're going to change that. Let's say color, and we want, oops, what happened? There we go. So paste that in and save. And that's it. So don't get discouraged if you don't have this exact CSS, or if you couldn't do it, or if you can only do part of it. That's absolutely fine. If you're just getting into CSS, then this is kind of a tough project. So we're going to move on, and in the next section, what I want to do is take what we've learned in the HTML section as well as this one, and build an actual website, an actual project. Okay, so we're going to build a small hotel website that has, you know, a home page, an about page, contact page, and we're going to style the navigation menu and add some background images. So we'll actually get to put something together with everything that we've learned so far. All right, so I'll see you in the next section.